Welcome, educators, to this special edition of the Teachers on Fire Roundtable. It's the Thanksgiving edition, and I'm so honored to be joined by 8 other Teachers on Fire who specialize in this area of gratitude in different ways. Can't wait to speak with them here in a moment. My name is Tim Cavey. I'm an 8th grade teacher, a rookie assistant principal, and the host of the Teachers on Fire podcast. And I'm going to go around the group and ask each one to introduce themselves, tell us who you are and what your context in education looks like, starting with Lisa.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Gady. I am a speech and language pathologist that works in a small town in Wisconsin. This year started my 30th year. I adore early childhood age. I spent 9 years there team teaching with another teacher. I love that first hook up with families and being able to make them comfortable and let them see that their children who have different abilities also have some fabulous strengths. And the last 21 years have been at an elementary school with children kindergarten to 5th grade.
All right. Welcome, Lisa. Chris.
Lisa, great to follow you because I just finished 30 years in education. I'm recently retired. I retired in June. I came back actually in October to teach for a month to help out the school I had left in a kindergarten classroom. I'm still with it because I'm a strong believer in giving back and supporting educators and students, especially right now through this pandemic. So great to be here this morning.
Thanks, Chris. Sarah.
Hey, friends. Sarah Johnson. I am a podcaster, author, leadership coach, adjunct professor for educational leadership, and probably the most recent is I'm back to the classroom in my basement with my 6th and 3rd grader, and it stretches me every single day. I love to serve educators still with the message about going beyond balance and lead with faith, and I continue to try to figure out how to use all of my education skills in different settings now. So just like many of us, of course.
Thanks, Sarah. Welcome. Ashley, over to you.
Hey, my name is Ashley Hardyway. I am a kindergarten teacher in Dallas, Texas. I actually can be an administrator. I just graduated last year, but I have chosen to remain in the classroom because I feel like it's the most powerful place to really impact students and families. I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas, so I was in early childhood and special ed there for 12 years, and now I am with elementary. Just a side note, I know Sarah knows, but I'm also a baker on the side. While teaching last year, I opened a storefront in Wichita, and I was blessed to have an opportunity to go on Sugar Rush Netflix. That journey and some other little viral things that have happened in my life has been a huge tool that lines up with gratefulness to really maneuver during this pandemic to inspire, to empower, to restore hope in our students and families and even coworkers.
Fantastic. We're going to get to this comment from Barbara Bray, who is joining us. I know a lot of us are familiar with Barbara. She says, hi from Oakland, California. Good morning. Amazing panel. I'm a podcast host of the Rethink Learning Chat and an author of Define Your Why. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, Barbara. Audrey, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Audrey Thornborough, and I am a instructional coach, tech integration / media specialist in a district in central Minnesota. I used to be an 8th grade English language arts teacher, as well as I taught the juniors and the seniors, and I did the college and the schools and the gifted and talented program in a district. But now I'm in the elementary, which is a new experience, but I'm loving it. It's been my 5th year there. We have a K-5 school district, our school. And this is my 12th year of teaching.
All right. Welcome, Audrey. Mealy, it's been good to figure out who you are a little bit this morning. Why don't you introduce yourself again?
Sure. So I'm Mealy. I teach math in high school in North Carolina. And I'm also a podcast coach, co-host of Unprofessional Development. And I guess my claim to fame is that we had Tony Danza on our podcast. So that was really, really cool. You may or may not know that he taught for a year in a Philadelphia high school post his big parts of his career that he's still working, and there's going to be a reboot, I guess. But yeah, so that's kind of who I am. So Unprofessional Development is the podcast.
Fantastic. Tamara Letter, over to you.
Oh, hi, everyone. My name is Tamara Letter, and I am a technology integrator, similar to Audrey. I work in the K through 5 school setting, but like Ashley, I'm licensed as an administrator, but choose to stay in my current role because it's such a challenging role, and it's something new all the time, especially now with all the latest the accommodations we're having to make for instruction and education. I'm currently serving 2 face-to-face 5 days a week schools in addition to an online school. So it's been a year of learning for me, for sure, along with others in our district. And I'm also the author of A Passion for Kindness.
Fantastic. So thankful to have you here as well. Welcome. And last but not least, Mr. Hooker, welcome.
Wow. First of all, what a rock star panel. Thank you guys for having me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just a dad, guys, 3 kids every day. I'm a former first grade teacher, former 5th grade teacher, former administrator, did all those things. I took a huge plunge a few months before the pandemic, decided to quit everything to become a full-time public speaker. Well, we see how that worked out, but that's okay. I have a lot of gratitude, and I'll talk about that later. I'm also I host 2 different podcasts. I wrote 6 books. I host trivia nights on the regular now. A little bit of everything, as you might imagine, just trying to make ends meet. And also right now doing a remote learning coach course that has been really well received, and doing that and providing that for a lot of schools out there. In fact, I've been training schools for free here in the local area. I'm from Austin, Texas. So I'm just trying to help out however I can.
All right, Tamara and Carl, you're getting some love from Barbara Bray as well. And
hey, Barbara.
Thank you for that, Carl. So it's been really fun to sort of put this panel together, and a few of you have these intentional gratitude campaigns going on. So I can't wait to hear more about that. But to get this started, and I'm realizing that question 2 and question 3 might sort of bleed into each other. So maybe I'll read both of them. But my next question for each of you is, how does gratefulness make a difference in your life? And I think this is so timely in a year when so many teachers are more on the end of burnt out as, compared to being on fire. It's one of the most difficult and trying years ever to be in education. So talk about, in real terms, how does gratitude and gratefulness make a difference in your life? And if you want to jump into the next question, that is what are some intentional gratefulness practices that figure into your day? So I'll go back to that second question, and we'll sort of snake our way backwards. Carl, can I go back to you on this one?
Sure, of course. First of all, I'll just say that, when it comes to what we're seeing right now with teacher burnout, you brought it up, Tim. I think it's a real thing, and I don't want to dismiss it and say that we need to have what I've heard referred to as toxic positivity, where people are like, it's going to be great, we're going to get through this. Well, there's some reality to like what we're struggling with right now. So I think it's important to be introspective and think and reflect on the things that we're going through, but also pick out and pinpoint certain things that you're grateful for too. I know a lot of friends of mine that are teachers that are going through some tremendous stress, but at the same time, they're learning lots of new tools, lots of new techniques when it comes to teaching, adding more tools to their toolkit that they have been definitely grateful for. And that's something for me that I'm definitely grateful for as well, and just learning different techniques. As I mentioned, I'm a public speaker. I'm used to being on stage with 1,000 people. What did I have to do? Just like every other teacher out there, I had to learn how to engage the audience when they're just 2D flat images on a screen. And sometimes it's just a name, right? We don't even get to see their faces. So learning how to engage learners is a big thing. And when it comes to that intentional gratefulness practices, one I do is at the end of the day, and I practice this with my 3 daughters, what I do is we sit down, we lay down at the end of the day, and we reflect on 3 things. One is, what is something that I did well today? What is something that I could have done better today? And then the third one is, what is something I want to try to accomplish tomorrow? So we just do that, and it takes a couple or 3 minutes every day. And sometimes I tell them if they want to say it out loud, they can, or they can just internalize it. And it's just a good practice to kind of get into when you think about, what am I going to set out to accomplish tomorrow? And I say, don't make it too big of a thing. Maybe it's just making your bed in the morning, which some days, believe me, I wish they would. So that's part of it. And I think those are the kind of the big things for me that going forward that I use for practicing that gratefulness.
Thank you so much. Tamara.
Well, it's interesting, this concept of gratefulness, because I think when you take the time, and you have to carve out time to be grateful, and then sometimes you're in the mad rush of being so caught up in the day-to-day and responsibilities that it's difficult. It's really challenging to put that as a priority. because there's so many other things pulling you in so many different directions. Personally, for me, I find that when I carve out quality time, even if it's just 15 minutes at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, but I carve out 15 minutes to really think about people. Specifically people. Who am I grateful for and why? And I'm a big supporter of course, anything related to kindness, but specifically the power of handwritten notes in showing gratitude for others, because being able to have something tangible that you can pass to someone else. You don't know what's going on in their world all the time, and you may not be aware of the mood they'll be in when they receive your note, but many times when I've received notes of gratitude from other people, it just seems like it's perfect timing every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, right then, I just needed to know that I mattered to somebody, you know? And so then when I think about the power of words and the power of words that I can put into someone else's life in that moment, you know, it's so important for us to remind people of the impact they have on others, and especially in education. Every single day, educators are positively impacting the lives of others, whether it's the students they serve, the coworkers that they're with, the administrators and school leaders that they're having to collaborate and communicate with. And sometimes I think we don't always share how appreciative we are for the different things, that the weight that people have to carry in their day-to-day jobs. And so taking just a little bit of time, maybe once a week even, just to write a handwritten note to someone and to write something very meaningful, very targeted to that person, and then sending it, not holding on to it, but actually getting it to that person. It's just that little seed of kindness you put in the world, and you remind people that they matter. And that's a great way to uplift them in these trying times.
Handwritten notes can't be copied and pasted, right, Tamara? So that makes a difference. Mealy, over to you.
Sure. A couple of things. One is prayer. So as you know, as a believer, I try to pray on a regular basis and just, thank God for whatever it is that's been going on, and just, something just for the strength to get through another day. And then another big thing is trying to notice, particularly with family. We're full virtual right now, so I've got two children, a 10th grader and a 6th grader, who are in the house, and my wife is working from home as well. So just noticing when my family does something like, oh, thank you for bringing your dishes down from your room. Thank you for, taking out the trash. Thank you, and just trying to regularly notice the things that my family's doing, some that they're supposed to do, some that are above and beyond, and just expressing, and trying to be, and not be a cursory, just, thank you for doing that, but try and make that eye contact, try and say, you don't understand that, that makes my life easier, better. I'm appreciating the fact that you're doing that for me, and making them feel seen and heard and appreciated. So I think that's one of the ways I do those things.
Well said. I am still hearing some feedback, so I think we will try muting. Let's see if that sort of solves our feedback loop and cleans that up a little bit. I apologize to have to ask you to do that, but let's see if that solves our problem. Audrey, over to you. How does gratefulness make a difference in your life?
Well, for me, my practice happens right away in the morning. I grew up in a family that had a faith, and so I think they really instilled in me that daily practice of prayer. And so for me, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I turn off my alarm, and I still may be laying in bed, but I just, think about all of the things that I have in my life that are blessings. Sometimes it's I am so grateful for this pillow that I have and my down comforter right now and the heat in my house. So sometimes it's small things like that, but a lot of times too is, people in my life who bring me joy, or who take care of me, who check in with me, the people who are leading my schools. And so I spend my first 10 minutes just, thinking about all of those things. And really what it does is it really centers me, and it primes my brain then for the rest of the day to be aware and to notice all those small little things that I can, take gratitude for. And so that's just personally what I do, but also something that I do professionally with my teachers as a coach. I go around to each one of their classrooms every single morning, and I check in with them. Sometimes I write them letters too, like you were talking about, Tamara. Send them little bits of chocolate, just thanking them for the work that they do. But something that I have noticed this year as a coach, when I go in and I check in on all my teachers, how are you doing? Is your technology working? But how are you doing too as a teacher? They have really started to like open up and kind of unload on me this year because they're dealing with so much. And so something that I've told them, kind of like my little mantra for them, is it is okay to feel the way that you're feeling right now. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be, angry or whatever it might be. Acknowledge those feelings because they're real. It's okay to feel that way, but we can't live there. We can't stay there. And so we have to try to find something that we can be grateful for, because otherwise we're going to spiral out of control and we're going to end up in a much darker place than we would have been otherwise.
That is so true. Venting can really go and go and go if we're not careful. Mm-hmm. Ashley, over to you. How does gratefulness make a difference in your life?
I'm trying not to cry while everybody talks because this is just like my heartbeat. So I'll kind of start with something that I kind of go with daily is to be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I understand because I once was you. And I think that it's so important daily just to help you understand. I've been through a lot. I'm a survivor of child abuse. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I was a single mom. The list could go on. And I think every day we have all survived or been through something. And if we walk daily, just remembering the things that we have been through, it gives us a gratefulness in our heart so that when we see students or we see parents or we see coworkers that have those resemblance of what we have been through, it shows us to be grateful. And naturally you want to just pour into them or uplift them. And so I try to go, I was once a para and then I became a teacher and then an administrator, but you never forget where you came from. And so using those tools, just being in a classroom setting, okay, the para that's tired, but you remember what it was like to be a para and your voice wasn't always heard, lifting them up to really inspire them to use their voice, being the teacher, but your administrator, understanding the care and the sacrifices that teachers give daily and helping them, be empowered and uplifted. My husband, before he, God has blessed him with a great job, started as a custodian. So like this year, oh my goodness, custodians, the care that they have to do, the cleaning, the intense cleaning that has doubled, tripled, even in the environment to help us be safe in a pandemic. I know this year, just getting to know and talk to the custodian, she wants to be a social worker one day, but I decided just to leave her a card and a gift card because and she was puzzled. She kind of didn't talk to me for 3 days because kindness is it's dwindling in this pandemic and everything that's going on in the cares of the world. So just taking those opportunities to understand the parents virtual. A lot of people are losing jobs. They have 2 jobs, giving them grace. It's so important I know it's hard as teachers, but we have to understand they're maneuvering through this too. They're working essential hours. That word essential, they're working and just giving them a little bit extra grace and just loving them and giving each other hope that we're going to get through this together. So.
Thank you so much, Ashley. So much richness there. Sarah, I can't wait to hear from you. I've been looking forward to this because you've got this campaign going. So make sure you talk about that, but also to the broader question, how does gratefulness make a difference in your life?
Thanks, Tim. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody for your vulnerable shares. And Ashley, I'm so excited we're connected. Just want to make sure I express that gratitude. So for me, what gratefulness means in my life is that it's a lifelong journey. And for me, it goes so much deeper than just practicing something. It's about self-awareness. And if I could just take a moment and talk about how important it is that we understand, first of all, why we need to express gratitude, but then also how to do that, for the people around us. I am I speak about this frequently in my podcast. I'm an Enneagram 7. And what that means is I could fall easily into toxic positivity that you have all talked about, or I can just gloss everything over and it's all good. I got this. And I lived that journey for a period, and it's a dangerous space. So for me, what it means is that I practice very carefully, mindfully, and joyfully to integrate myself through gratitude, because I also have a tendency at my core to escape and also to lack contentment. And so for me, gratitude means that I become more and more content with what I've been given, no matter what season that is, if it's a season of plenty or a season like now where we've been pruned completely in so many different ways, collectively and individually. That life might look so different, but we can still be joyful for what we have. Simple things like everybody's mentioned, but it really comes down to living with contentment and be joyful for what we do have. And so I don't know, for me, gratefulness, it's a spiritual practice. I go to Brené Brown on that as well. I've heard prayer mentioned and all of those things, but there's a deeper connection when we're able to not only think the great thoughts, but to deploy it. And so for me, that intentional gratitude it's had different iterations over time. I've done the handwritten notes where I was very careful, and I wrote about this in Lead with Faith. I think I gave like 20 ideas on how to express it genuinely to your staff. But also, a lifelong thing I've had is I always think compliments, but I don't say them. And we know that our happiness is boosted. It's a reciprocity when we actually deploy it out there. So how do you say it? In so many different ways, right? How does the other person want to receive it? Do they want the words of affirmation, or do they want things like Tamara is a rock star at doing and giving little gifts and tokens, to show gratitude and those kinds of things? So I don't know. For me, it's very intentional. And yes, Tim, you mentioned this month is always hard for me going into it. My brother passed 6 years ago, and we move into, 5 days from now, it'll be 6 years from that. Yesterday was the last time I'd seen him. And that's one example of several losses. But for me, I double down in November and December on gratitude and service, because I have to keep myself in the present moment. Another part of who I am wants to escape the icky feelings. And so for me, I created an intentional campaign. So I posted that up on my podcast this month. I would each day spread that joy through social media, being intentionally grateful. Then I would also send out handwritten notes, and I'm terrible at mail. So bless me, I'm working hard at that one. And then I would work to get my children to do their own gratitude. But I want to vulnerably share with you, and I saw this, Brian Carpenter, thanks for joining, when you talked about we can't demand it. And I was like, I'm going to get these girls to start being grateful. And I will tell you, it's been a challenge to get them to stay on their own path. So I'll admittedly say that one's not, it's like 50% success rate there, but just really wanting to be that light no matter what. So.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Chris, you've got a Twitter account focused on gratefulness. What does gratefulness look like, or how does it make a difference in your life?
I just want to start by saying I'm so moved and blessed to be witnessing this kind of sharing this morning. So thank you for this opportunity. For me, I look at gratitude as a game changer. It can bring joy to not only the life of the giver, but also the receiver. And Tamara mentioned the idea of notes, but a word, a smile, and when it's okay, a hug, elbow bumps, all simple expressions of gratitude that can bring hope to the lost, can bring peace to people who are suffering. And we all know people who are suffering, who live part of their days in our schools, among our staff and our students, and even within our own families. People sensing that they're appreciated, that others believe in them, that what they say matters. They can all experience, all of this can be experienced through gratitude. And in turn, when I express this kind of gratitude, I'm uplifted. Gratitude practices for me that are driven by the heart have a depth of expression that surpasses practices that are simply, I don't mean to downplay the importance of knowing that gratitude is important, but when we do something because it's a polite thing to do, but in addition to that, it's coming from the heart, it can make such a difference. And in working with young children, which I've spent, especially the latter part of my career after working as a district coordinator for many years, coming back into classrooms of grade 1 and spending the last 3 years of my career in kindergarten, starting with kids very young and teaching the importance of gratitude and what it means to bring gratitude from here. it can make all the difference. So as Tim mentioned, I have my other handle is Grateful EDU64. And what I try to do almost daily is post expressions of gratitude and retweet many things that people post. And it's incredible, simple things that can make such a difference that people express on a daily basis. So that's one small piece that I hope to lend to the puzzle of gratitude, both around my area where I live, but also internationally as well. And I have a little project I'm working on, but I'll save that for the end.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. Want to take a moment to shout out some amazing people who have joined us. Of course, Barbara, but also Mark Ryan from across the world, Matthew Joseph, and let's see, Brian Carpenter, of course, has been staying with us as well. Lisa, over to you. How does gratefulness make a difference in your life?
When I got to thinking about gratefulness, I'm trying to put together words that express to you the feeling it gives me. And what I came up with was, I'm sure you've all recently seen the commercial where they have the people who are colorblind putting on a pair of glasses. And as soon as they put that on, it's like everything is just more. And yet some of the times when I'm expressing gratitude, I'm hoping to get through this without tears because I'm a teary kind of person. I'm a touchy-feely, huggy. This whole period of time has been so hard for me because I show my gratitude through all of that, Sarah, right? And that's how I see it. It's just that more. Dull things become shiny. Ordinary becomes extraordinary. And all of a sudden, the world is just better, brighter. And it impacts everything in my life. It impacts how I feel about myself, my mindset, my attitude, what I can pour into others, what I take from others, my relationships, how I sleep, everything. And so for me, I find that I do have to be intentional about it. I kind of have 3 times of the day when I really focus on gratitude. I start my morning similar to Audrey. I get up in the morning and either do some Hal Elrod has the Miracle Morning where you work on your savers and you have some quiet time and visualize and read. And part of that time I have to actually spend making myself well, loving myself, building myself, because if I'm not okay and good, I can't really pour that into somebody else. When I do that time, it's a fabulous time for me. Then during the day, I have 2 things that are kind of my thing. I'm the yeah, but girl. So it doesn't to me, and I B-U-T. It doesn't matter to me what situation you get in. I've been in some situations that have been heartbreaking, but you can look, if you look hard enough, and you will find a silver lining in those. You will find the yeah, but. Usually they say don't but to something that you're doing. I think around gratitude and every experience you have, you should overly yeah, but. I think in terms of, I'm going to explain something that happened to me this week. If you know me, you know I love to sing in the car on the way to work for an hour. I'm usually hoarse by the time I get there. I also like to shake my booty. So I'll put on my socks, I'll go in my basement, and I will just, when I have to get good with the world, right? So I go down 2 days ago, and I am in my socks, which I learned is now not a good idea because I'm flat on my back, like right on my tuchus. And my foot is hurting so badly, and I'm like, oh, I can't even believe that just happened. I'm like, yeah, but I could have broke it. Or I could have hit my head on the treadmill, or I could have, and so I'm limping around, but it could have been worse. And so I just think, take those situations, and I'm kind of the yeah, but girl with friends, with anybody I come up to. If you give me a situation, my head just naturally says, yeah, but. Think of the beauty in what just happened, because there will be a lesson there that you can take with you. So that's one of the main things. And then I'm very particular about where I put my energy. At my advanced age, I have learned that you only have so much energy in a day. And I'm not going to put it with negativity. I'm not going to put it with people who suck it from me. I'm going to pick those people that are my tribe, that are my positive people I can surround myself with. And then I'm going to just keep that cycle going of I'm grateful, and then I act on nudges. I'm a nudge girl too. You know, you talked about sending out the letters, sending out the notes, doing those kinds of things. I'm a shower, I'm a talker. I want it to be personal. And I think that's the important thing about gratitude. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be genuine. Think about what your heart's passion is and give that to other people. For me, it's crocheting. It's if I get a thought in my head, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm busy and I get a thought in my head, I either call that person, I go see them if I'm at school. I let them know how much they mean to me. Something that's a compliment to them. And I just have gotten more vulnerable at saying, I got to be me, I got to do me. And doing me means I express everything that's in my heart, good, bad, and ugly. And that gratitude piece is easier to do when you just get used to putting yourself out there and showing that to other people. The very last thing I do at the end of the day, usually, Robert Dunlop, who has the book Strive for Happiness in Education, talked about a happy feed app. And that app is amazing. On your phone, you get 3 opportunities during the day to either type something in, put a picture in. And, it started with things like, now it's as simple as a beautiful sunrise while I got up, snuggling dogs on my lap. It doesn't matter. You can go back and look at those, and it just becomes this intentional practice. I'm on day 237 today. So it's a fabulous way to have something right there and tangible for you to make a difference with gratitude.
Thank you so much for that tip, Lisa. And that kind of leads us into my third question. Now, we may have covered this, so we don't necessarily need to hit every single person, but for educators listening and thinking about this message of integrating gratefulness and gratitude into their lives, what are some intentional gratefulness practices that figure into your day? Lisa just talked about some. Is there anyone else that would say, maybe in the course of this round, you've just thought of something else, or you've got this great journaling strategy or an app or something else that you'd like to share? Go ahead and speak up if you've got something here.
I just want to say that many of us had said handwritten notes, and we don't want to always use technology, overuse it, but I can't tell you how powerful it is to set an intentional plan to send even just text messages, again, of just gratitude. I mean, honestly, I'll just pop a message. This is right now to the school leaders that I work with, people that I've worked with in the past, superintendents that I've had connections with, and just say, hey, I know it's hard right now, but I'm so grateful that you exist. I mean, a simple statement like that, the power in that, and somehow the timing lands really well, but we don't have to make it too hard. We can make it a lot, easier. How I said, I can't stand to go to the mailbox. I chose to do that this time around in my iteration, but there's something to be said about just a simple, direct reach to somebody.
And I'll piggyback on that too and say that there was, I did a similar thing, and where I was sending actual messages. I was going through like my text messages or going through my Facebook feed, and like, who are some people that I haven't reached out to in quite a while? And when this all started back in March and in April, I made a point of every day just reaching out to a different person, and it was random. And you're right. Sometimes, Sarah, people would reply like, wow, how did you know I needed someone to ask me? Like, all I said was like, hey, how are you doing? And that's all they need sometimes. And sometimes people wouldn't respond. Sometimes people would respond, but I just love that, that someone out there is thinking about them. I mean, even if it's just a little text message, I think that's great. I too, by the way, am a terrible mail person. So I'm bonding and connecting with you. I'm bad at that.
I was going to say, I kind of tied to what Lisa said and what Sarah said. Sarah really got onto contentment, which I think is kind of, I guess, tangential to gratitude, but I think it's such an important part of gratitude. And Lisa kind of talked about where you put your energy, and something that's just helped me to be more thankful, more content is I've learned, and I share this with a lot of my teacher friends, that it's okay to be an all B person. And by that, I mean that sometimes teachers feel they want to get that A+. So they are just putting, and the energy it takes to go sometimes from a B to an A+ is like twice as much, where you could just be a B here. And what I've learned is if I'm an A+ teacher, then maybe that makes me a C husband and a C parent. And so if I can dial that down to be a B and go, okay, let me spread it out. And I'm okay if I'm a B teacher, and then I'm a B parent and a B friend and a B. And like, if I can get all Bs, that's better than getting like 2 As and 4 Cs. And I'm kind of grateful for, and I tell people, like, you can appreciate that you are, and be grateful for the fact that you did a B. Like, be grateful for getting a B. You know what I mean? That's really good. That's above average. So you're good. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one of the things that I've intentionally tried to do when I realize that I'm trying to like do too much with this area or that area or the other area, and kind of dial it back to spread it around a little bit.
Yeah, great thoughts there. Imagine what EduTwitter would be like if every teacher and educator on there gave thanks for one other educator on a daily basis, right? Imagine that positivity and encouragement. And I know that's speaking right to the hearts of so many of you already. Well, let's keep this moving with question 4. We're going to expand a little bit beyond gratitude. And I think that's appropriate and needed given this year and all the the tumult and the challenge that we've all faced in 2020. What a year it's been. What is another habit of wellness and self-care that you could share? So snaking our way back, we'll start with Lisa and work our way back to Carl.
For me, it's really important to have that me time so I can have that time to, whether it's read, walk the dogs, just relax, just sit and think. And the other one is just being able to have some positive affirmations that I can give myself during the day that help me stay in the right frame of mind. Again, it's constantly kind of working on myself and love of myself so that I can be better for other people. So the affirmations are a big thing that I try to really do often.
Thank you, Lisa. Chris.
I was an early riser over 30 years. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and the reason I did that was because when my girls were young, that's the only time I had to be able to spend some of that me time, Lisa, that you just talked about. So daily exercise is a critically important part of almost every single day for me. The whole idea of healthy mind, healthy body, healthy heart. And really, it provides me with the time for what so many of you talked about in terms of reflection of what happened even the day before and where I'm going to put my focus on the upcoming day. It's a stress reliever too. And it really helps me to focus on what's most important in my life. Those people around me that I care so much for, my own faith, and my work. So yeah, the exercise piece is important. People think I'm a little bit off the deep end, getting up early, but I'm an early riser, and I turn in pretty early in the evening. So
I was doing 4:45 last year, Chris. I've upgraded to 5 o'clock this year, giving myself a little bit more sleep. It's always a balance. Sarah, I feel like daily exercise might be part of your day somehow.
I was like, am I going to talk about this? This starts to get annoying. I'll be on 2,332 days today of making intentional choice to run every day. And it's been my absolute game changer. And I love the morning routine. I 1000% agree with that. But as I've shared, it's dark now here in Wisconsin for at least the next 10 months. I don't think that's an exaggeration, actually. But yes, that space to myself, and especially now where I'm an extrovert and I don't have any time outside of my house and fewer interactions that I'd ever had before, and all of my time with my girls, I just peel them off of me and run outside and get away, and it's just amazing. So I could go on and on about how important that is. It's good for spiritual health. It's way more than physical for me. It comes down to my mental well-being, and it hits so many different domains when you consider the 5 domains of self-care. You want to talk about your physical, your mental, emotional, spiritual, and your cognitive. And that one for me, it hits so many. So, and also I just want to point out for anybody who's never heard that crazy number before, Jay Posick is over 30 years running every day. He inspired me. I never started out to do a streak, but I've never been able to let it go because it has been the thing through all of the shifts in the last 6 years, 6.5 years, the thing that stays steady and the one thing that I can control until my body breaks down, and then I can't, and I'll figure out another way to iterate. But for now, it's been the good thing. But I was just telling my daughter this morning, she's like, were you in track? And I said, no, I was not a runner before I started identifying, before the streak started when you were 3 years old, my sweet. So anyway.
Well, Sarah, our friend Brian here has mentioned that your story inspired him to get going with his daily walk. And we know from Twitter that he's out there at 5 o'clock every day, walking around his neighborhood and listening to podcasts. So thank you, Brian, for all of your reflections and everything that you share there.
In the fresh air. In the fresh air at 5.
The fresh air at 5. Yes. Got to get that hashtag fresh air at 5. And I did want to mention, follow Sarah on Instagram. She posts these wonderful, beautiful pictures from almost every run, right, Sarah, on your route there. Ashley, over to you. Other wellness practices that can help educators during this time.
I'm not repeating. That's a rule, right, Tim? So I would say I was a huge social media sharing all of those things. My self-care in this season has been to pull back. If you go to my Twitter, it's like I got married in the pandemic and I just disappeared. And so it's too much. Media is a powerful thing. I couldn't take, people hurting and the things that were going on. So I had to silence those things, silence the phone sometimes, deactivate the email off of my phone, those things. But I am opposite from Chris and Sarah. I am a late night. I have 4. And so when they're asleep, it's the most peacefulest time in the house. And so that's my time where I listen to my music, or I read a book, or I have that cup of green tea, hot green tea at the end of the night, and walk through the quietness and stillness of the house. I also, I'm a morning on the way to work. I have to listen to that music. And I'm kind of like Lisa, sometimes it's a calm day, but sometimes I'm in the car, waving my hand and get down. So I would say, and also to just practice no. I know when you have a grateful heart and you want to help and be there for everybody, you have to take that time to really pull back and refill your cup. And so just knowing when to say no and when to say yes, and those other small things, spending time with family, laughing, not forgetting to laugh, build a gingerbread house, paint a picture, crafts, those things inside the house as well. So.
Thank you, Ashley. Audrey, over to you.
Yeah, I am also kind of a morning person, not like crazy early, but I also have kids. And when they go to bed at night, I just can't keep my eyes open myself. I normally fall asleep in bed with them. So I have to take my time in the morning. And so something else that I do besides just my gratefulness practice, and very much related, is meditation. And so after I spend that time being grateful, or reminding myself of what I can be grateful for, I then use an app for my meditation. And what that does is it helps me to really focus and be aware. And today, the practice that we did was loving kindness, where we visualize a person in our life who we care about, and we think about, what we would like to be able to give to them, to give them joy. And it might have been, I hope that this person had a great night's sleep, or I hope that this person has professional fulfillment, or whatever it might be. But meditation has just been such a game changer for me this year. I was not doing this before this school year started, but I was really finding myself needing to be more intentional with taking care of myself. I think maybe Tamara said this earlier. You can't take care of other people until you are able to have your bucket filled, and then you can give to other people. So I do spend that time in the morning in meditation, and doing other things too, like the 5 domains that Sarah talked about, taking care of my physical needs. I cannot run because I was a dancer and I have arthritis in my knee. So I did have to iterate already in my life and figure out something else that I could do. And so for me, it's yoga and walking outside. It's just, a little bit easier on my body, but it's something where it allows me still to think and to process and to calm myself down and fill myself up.
Audrey, I'm an
needed.
app kind of a person. Are you using Calm or Headspace or something else?
I actually use Balance. So earlier this year, I started using an app called Elevate, and it does what I call brain games. And so, I'm practicing my math and my writing and my speaking skills, or whatever it might be. But because I use Elevate, then they suggested using Balance, and it is amazing. I absolutely love it. So I get a free year of that for right now, and it's been amazing to use.
Thank you. Mealy, over to you.
Yeah, so I know we talked to a few people here mentioned that they're criers. Well, I'm a laugher. Not that I don't ever cry, because I do cry sometimes, but my wife makes fun of me. Well, not makes fun of me, but teases me because I cry at commercials, or I really cry at like student-based stuff more than I do cry at like other like family-based stuff. I don't know, because I guess I've got a teacher's heart. But laughter is really something, and in fact, there are times where I guess it's not like I laugh to relieve stress. So sometimes I laugh way longer than I should. It's something that isn't that funny, but and when I know when that happens, like normally it's my own jokes that's just stress just going for me, and just the cleansing feeling of laughing really, really hard. So I've been practicing something when I know that I'm getting stressed, and I call it sitcom therapy. And so I just put on, like, New Girl is what I'm back into now. I'm rewatching New Girl again, and I love Nick Miller. I love Winston Bishop. They just make me just scream laughing. I love that. So, and after I get done watching that, I just feel relieved. So I call it sitcom therapy. So that's the practice I'm doing now.
Fantastic. Tamara, over to you.
I love this discussion. I've gotten so many great ideas listening to all of you, and I'm listening going, wow, Sarah runs. That'd be so great if I could do that. But no. I love getting the ideas and then thinking, what fits best for me and my self-care. And I think the first step is really understanding yourself and having like an authentic inventory of where you are in your life in that moment, and figuring out, what is it that would help me to relieve this stress, or to let go of something in this moment, or help process something. And so what I have been doing recently, I put into practice after reading Allison Apsey's blog. Actually, she wrote a post about how she was specifically stepping away from email on the weekends. And the perspective that she brought in her post was one that I had not thought about before, how when you are so hyper-connected with those that you serve, especially in a professional realm, that sometimes you invariably push people to do more work without meaning to. It's almost like unintended consequences. And I started thinking, as a technology integrator, my calling is to serve others. And I find that with educators, many times teachers are working on the weekends, they're working in the evenings, they're sending emails at all hours of the day. And in my specific role, we've often prided ourselves in the past of being accessible 24/7, and we're always here to help you, and we'll drop everything to be on-demand support. What I'm finding, especially in this particular year where there's such a heavy emphasis on technology integration, the burnout is so heavy for all of us working, but also the technology integrators, that I'm breaking, as well as the teachers. And so I have to figure out, where is my breaking point, and what can I do to create wellness for me that maybe I haven't had to do before. And so reading Allison's blog post, I realized, when I'm checking my email on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon and Saturday night and Sunday and all throughout the day, of course, I read something somebody needs help with, I immediately want to respond, and I'm actually pulling other people back into the fray, and I'm not helping them with their wellness, because I'm almost adding to their plate of, well, try this, and why don't you work on that, and here's an idea. And so I decided to step away from email every Saturday. I don't check work email at all Saturday, at all, the whole day. And I tried to step away on Sunday. That's my goal. And the very first time I did this, it was actually frightening, because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to come in Monday morning and there's going to be 500,000 emails and I'm never going to be able to catch up. And I was surprised to see that when I don't email people, they don't email me back. And the problems that they might have had, many times they answer them on their own, and they're able to figure out things without my help, and it's actually okay. And so my wellness plan right now is to specifically not check work email on Saturdays, with the goal of going a whole weekend without doing that. And so far, it's only been a couple of weeks I've been successful, but for those weeks, I definitely have noticed a change, and it's given me time on the weekends to do the things that I love, whether it's playing games with my 3 children, writing on my own blog, taking some time to read. I've been able to recapture the joy in my own life again, and that's very important for everyone.
Email FOMO is real, right, Tamara? Absolutely. Some good advice there. Carl, over to you. Other wellness habits that you could suggest and share today. And I know you've had a very active gratefulness contest going on as well.
Yeah. So first of all, a lot of things here. Walking, yes. Laughter was mine until Mealy stole it. So no, just that's okay. But also on the email one, Tamara, there was I gave up email for Lent one year, believe it or not, as an administrator in a school district. I was fired 19 days later, but otherwise it was a really good challenge and I really enjoyed it. No, I made it 19 days, but I tracked it. It's an interesting strategy to track actually how many emails you get versus other kinds of communication methods. Okay. So anyway, so my big one I think I would say is for me as an extrovert like Sarah, I'm an extreme extrovert. I want to be around people. I want to be around large gatherings, which we can't do right now. So for me, it was about how do I continue to make connections in ways that are maybe not necessarily educational. So we found, I have friends of mine that like fantasy football. So we got together and we have a little connection group around that. I have a group now that started playing this game Among Us. I don't know if you know that game that all the kids play these days. So we started doing fun little games like that. Some of them are online. Some of them is like, going and playing golf, which is still something you can do because it is socially distant, a little expensive and hard to get to as much when you have 3 kids, but things like that. So for me, it was finding hobbies, things that didn't have to do necessarily with my profession to have something else to do, and then making connections with those people that have those same hobbies. And I think for me, that kind of helped me with my own wellness and my own self-care, and also helped us with motivation. So we started a weight loss challenge with a group as well. Same kind of thing, like we're tracking each other's steps, seeing how we're doing. I think that's a big part of this too, because this is an isolating moment for a lot of us. And if you're someone like me and like Sarah, who's an extrovert, you want to make sure that you can find ways to make those connections. Because otherwise, I'll be honest, I mean, I went into a pretty deep depression at the beginning of this, and I had to find ways to get out of it. And a lot of it was through some of the recommendations you guys have made on this panel to help me with that struggle. Laughter was a big part of it, but those connections for me over and over again, I keep going back to those.
Thank you so much, Carl. We are starting to wrap up here. Now, Ashley mentioned this rule that I shared with my guests in advance of our sharing circle. We're going to try the gratefulness round that you do with your family at that big Thanksgiving dinner. And just throw out, this is a lightning round. We're just throwing out one thing that you are grateful for today. But the catch is we can't all say the same thing. You can't repeat anything. You've got to think of something new and unique. Otherwise, you're a bad person if you don't say you're thankful for your partner, right? So we're going to get some people out of trouble here this morning. But Carl, we'll go back to you. No pressure. You can take this in any direction.
So I have 17. I'm going to list them all. No, I won't do that to you guys. I'm going to go, about 3 years ago, we bought a lake cabin that's about an hour south of Austin. And we didn't know at the time, but that place has been a godsend for us, just a retreat, not really a lot of internet out there. It's just woods and deer. And we just go out there, and it's my safe space. Like I get to it and I just kind of refocus, recenter. Within 5 minutes, I'm instantly calm. Get a cup of coffee, go on the back porch, boom, I'm there. So for me, that was my place. That's the place I'm most grateful for.
Amazing. Tamara?
I'm going to say that I am grateful for my car. Mainly because I can go anywhere at any time if I chose. It gets me to and from work. It helps me to be able to get the basic needs of things I need, whether it's food or clothing or anything else I need. But it's also a safe space. I can get in my car. I can sing and dance like some other people on this panel without judgment because nobody else is in my car with me. I can go there in solitude if I need to. I can have conversations in there with other people. It's just a safe space that can be filled with love and laughter, depending on who's in the car with you. But it's also functional too.
Awesome. Mealy.
Yeah. So I'll say, I know we got a few people here who probably agree with me. I'm grateful for both podcasts and podcasting. So kind of like the whole world, you know what I mean? I was a podcast addict listening to them from when they were MP3s, and I would have to download it off the computer and put it on my MP3 player and listen to it. And then I just got, I got into fantasy football podcasts and other stuff like that. And now I listen to so many. I literally listen to podcasts in my sleep. So I make a playlist. I sleep with my earbuds in, and I listen to podcasts all night. And I'll figure out which ones I fell asleep to and which ones I listened to part of, and rewind that. And then also the podcasting. We're coming up on a year that I've been having the podcast, and it's just been so much fun, and we laugh so much. I love my co-host, who's name is Tedisco. If you ever listen to us, we just get along and just vibe off each other and make each other laugh. And just all the people I've been able to meet, so many times I get done, I'm like, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. Everybody should do this. And I know there's 8,000 teacher podcasts out there now, but who cares if it's 50 people living or 50,000 people listening to you? It's worth it just to do it and just to have the time to do it. And then, or if you can't, try and become a guest on somebody's podcast and see how much fun it is. Lots of my guests come and they go, that was just so so much fun. Some of them have never done it before. And so I really would recommend that. And then it's also a way for like family history or something like that. Make like a podcast where you interview your parents and the grandparents and all that kind of stuff, and have that somewhere, you know, so that like you can kind of pass that down as well. It's a really cool thing to do.
Amazing. Well, you know, I'm saying amen to all of that, Mealy. Audrey, over to you. What is one thing you are grateful for this morning?
Today I am grateful for an experience that my family and I are going to be able to have. You know, during this season of COVID right now, so many things, so many family traditions aren't the same. They're different this year. But one thing that we're able to keep the same is we are going to go to a local Christmas tree farm, and we're going to be outside in nature. We're going to find our Christmas tree. We're going to chop it down. We're going to bring it back home, and we are going to decorate it this evening, listening to our Christmas music. My dad started the tradition where we would drink raspberry ginger ale as we were decorating our Christmas tree as kids. So that's one thing that I'm starting with my kids as well. So I'm grateful that even though we've had to change a lot of different things this year in this holiday season, that's one thing that my family and I will be able to continue on this year.
All right. COVID can't stop it. Ashley, what is the one thing you are grateful for this morning?
I am grateful for the gift of life. I am grateful. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to meet all of you. I wouldn't be able to learn a new day. I wouldn't be able to love. I wouldn't be able to do so many things. So I'm just grateful to be here. And
amen
just
to
to live
that.
a new
Sarah,
day.
over to you.
I'm going to interrupt the flow for a second because I saw Brian ask me to go back through those domains. So I'm just really quickly mention, comes from the Mayo Clinic, the domains of self-care, which most of us touched upon them, but it's the physical, social, emotional/cognitive, occupational, and spiritual. So really, when I work on self-care on workshops, I talk about, hey, you might think I've rocked self-care because I got 2,332 days in a row, but I suck at hydration, and that's all in one domain. So we can all layer on more habits of self-care, just saying, and there are a lot of different spaces. So glad we had this panel. Okay, I'm going to go super simple. And it's like, again, going back to that contentment piece, building contentment in myself is that I'm going to say out loud, I am so grateful that the dread mill I ordered almost 2 months ago is going to be delivered to my home today. And I can't stand the dread mill because I like to be outside, but I need my morning routine. I need to run with some safety, and I can't wait because I can get that sucker going at the 4:30 hour if I want, or 5 o'clock hour. And I will start to call it the treadmill, and I will reclaim and redirect my thinking. It's not a treadmill. It is
we might
a
have to go without some sunset picks, but that's okay. Chris, over to you.
I'm going to say retirement. And I'll tell you that for a while when I first retired, I almost had that feeling of shame of being able to admit that, in the sense that maybe people might perceive that as a cop-out. But I got to tell you, it's really given me an opportunity to explore new projects at home, in schools, across the globe through Twitter. I can afford to be selective, and I can afford to slow down and pursue interests that I've really set aside for many years. And also to be able to help others in new ways. I can volunteer my time now like I've never been able to do before. So I'm really grateful for that. And Sarah, just to let you know, I run almost daily, and I challenge myself I do winter running as well, but it's risky. I've had some accidents in doing that. So the treadmill does come in handy, and it can become your
Amazing.
friend.
And Lisa, over to you.
I have to say that, you've heard the saying, to the world you are one person, but to one person you are the world. I am so grateful that I have had one person so many times. I have the Sarah Johnsons in my life who have poured into me, helped me to believe in myself at times I didn't, and have pushed me to step out of my box. I would never be here right now today with all of you if it hadn't been for those people who do that. So be one of those people for other people. Be the person who fills the other person with what they need and what you see in them. And I think that's one of the easiest, greatest ways to express gratitude, is to just tell people the fabulous things you see about them, because often you don't believe it about yourself. It's very easy for me to probably at any one of you say, you were great at this, you were great at this, I love that you do this, but seeing it in yourself is such a struggle. And for all those persons, whatever, I don't do that word, whatever. It's amazing to believe that I'm here right now because of those people. Had I not had them in my life, I just don't even know where I'd be right now. So thank you to all those people.
Well, that's a good connection with our last round of questions, Lisa, and that is, how can we connect with you from here? So we'll, again, snake our way back. We'll start with Lisa and work our way back to Carl. But let us know. I know we have some authors in the group. We have some content creators, some podcasters, and viewers who are with us live, or many more catching us on the replay may be interested in reaching out to you. So go ahead and share with us what are the best ways to connect with what you are putting out there.
You can catch me on Twitter or Voxer at Chatty Gady. Just keep in mind, I'm a speech therapist, and I had those little notes from kindergarten to 12th grade, talks too much in class. So it's really, really appropriate little handle for me. And then on Facebook, Lisa Nee Gady. So
Thank you, Lisa.
Ways.
And Chris, I know we've got a couple of things to put on the screen. Go ahead and share how we can connect with you.
Well, I stay pretty simple in terms of the best way to reach me is through Twitter, both Grateful EDU64 and Chris Quinn 64. I also use hashtags on, I've set up a hashtag for Wednesday and Friday, WWED on Wednesday, which focuses on wisdom and wellness, and FBFED on Fridays, that's Flashback Fridays, looking at highlights from the week that's gone by among educators. So those are kind of key ways. And then the last thing I want to mention is something I'm just starting. I'm kind of announcing it here, but starting it on December the 1st. And the hashtag is Holidays of Hope. And what I'm trying to do is help others to come together and inspire and raise up each other globally. So I'm thinking about the pandemic, and leading up to and throughout the holidays in December, you're invited to share stories of hope under the Holidays of Hope hashtag. So messages that reflect projects, actions being taken to help support others, pictures that show meanings of a season, and even kind words that might bring hope to those who might be struggling. So, and please, if you're posting that, invite others to join in. And people can post anywhere from December the 1st until January the 1st. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. Sarah, over to you.
Thanks for doing that, Chris. That's exciting. Well, you can find me everywhere on social media at Sarah S.A. Johnson. You can also catch the podcast, the In Awe podcast. That is where I amplify incredible women every week. And we're heading into, goodness, year 2. And you should probably check out a couple of episodes here for Lisa Gady and Tamara Letter. And sorry, gentlemen, but I won't be able to invite you on since I feature women. However, the other 2 panelists, got to make sure I have you here. But, and then also, you know, if you check out my website, I am really proud of the publications that I put out to serve others. It's not a book for me to go purchase. It's a message that I pray serves anybody who needs it, about the message of going beyond balance. A lot of what we've talked about today is in that book, in addition to a lot more. And then Lead with Faith, which is really about self-awareness, setting goals and intentions, and leading with your heart. And again, a lot of what we've spoken about today. So hope you catch me. I'm always on Twitter, and I've got accounts everywhere. So thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. Ashley?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm going to come out of hiding, and so and get back on social media. But you can find me there at anikki33. You can also follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of inspirational things there at Ashley Nicole 33. Or you can find me on Facebook as well at Ashley Hardyway. Or I have a blog there as well that's called Ashes Before Beauty. And so I post a lot of stories of hope and encouragement on there as well. So,
and don't forget, season 1, is it episode 6? Yes,
season 1, episode 6 on Sugar Rush. Yeah,
my daughters are fans of Ashley.
All right, we've got someone Netflix famous here with us, which is super fun. Audrey, over to you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, of course, right down there. But so that my Twitter is mostly all about education and kind of like my professional side. But I also am on Instagram if you'd like to follow me and see more of my personal side. I spend lots of time posting pictures of my kids and the food that I make because I love cooking. But I also am a blogger for the On Education podcast. And so if you listen to On Education, head over to their website, which is oneducationpodcast.com, and check out their blogs, and you can comment and interact with me there as well.
Thanks, Audrey. Mealy.
Yeah. So I think I've mentioned a couple times already, but unprofessional development. So it's easy, you've been to professional development and some of you like it and a lot of you don't. So we decided to make it unprofessional. So if you just say, hey, Siri, play unprofessional development podcast, it comes up, or hey, Alexa, play unprofessional development podcast, then I'm there. I'm on Twitter at unprocast because you can only make so long a name. And I'm there pretty much daily. And, sometimes I give like goofy tips. I'll give you one goofy tip for when we're back in COVID. This is always fun to do. On your planning period, you go into your neighbor teacher's room, and this is on a day when there might be snow and there's kind of like rumoring about it. And you just go into the room, you go, hey, did you get the email about early dismissal today for the snow? And watch the kids' faces, and then just shut the door and let the bedlam play out there. And it's just so much fun. And I love pulling that prank. Or even when it's not their birthday, go into a teacher's room and tell them happy birthday real fast, leave, and then wait for the kids to like start singing them happy birthday, and then like be confused as to what's happening. So that's the kind of stuff I do. All right.
Well, I'm so glad to clarify, Mealy, that your podcast is not all about R-rated content. And because honestly, when I would see you on Twitter, I had no idea sort of what went on the Unprofessional Development podcast. But it's been great to make this connection. And
yeah, no, it's not that bad. No, we're not. This is not how you get fired. Our number one rule on the podcast is don't say anything that will get you fired. So,
thanks, Tamara. Over to you.
Sure, I'm pretty easy to find on social media. My handle for Twitter and Instagram is Tamara Letter. I write at tamaraletter.com, where I still post blog posts. We even have a Passion for Kindness Facebook group where we just find positive stories in social media and share them, and it just kind of lightens our load a little bit. And I've even dabbled a little bit in TikTok, and that handle again is Tamara Letter. So kind of fun and easy to follow if you're looking for some inspiration and positivity.
I'm on there too, and I need to get back to it and pump something out here. Carl, let us know how we can connect with you. And you've also, we mentioned it before, but let's talk about your campaign too.
Sure. So I'm on Friendster. Do you guys still do that? Or MySpace? No? Okay. No, I'm just joking. I'm at Mr. Hooker on Twitter. Not Hooker on Twitter. That's a totally different account. Don't follow that person. I don't know who that is. Don't look at the images. And you can find me at carlhooker.com as well. I'm doing two podcasts, the Undisrupted podcast by Future Ready Schools and the Learning Unleashed podcast by ISTE. Here's my new course, guys. I just came out with this about a month and a half ago. Been working on it for quite a while. Remote learning coach. And there's a code there, thanks 2020, which is ironic. Thanks 2020 for 20% off the course there. And this week I've been doing a hashtag giving thanks contest and gifting a course to a different random educator each day that replies to my Twitter question of the day, which is posted at noon Central Time. And then I reveal the winner through a random spinner at 10 o'clock at night. So I've been doing that every day this week. It's been awesome to connect with random teachers across the country that are getting the course and enjoying it. And my hope for the course was some of the things we've talked about today, like how do we as teachers engage our students now in a remote environment? How do we build community? And there's reflection, like I mentioned at the very beginning, reflection is built into every component of the course. So if you like me and you like some of the videos I do, you'll love the course. If you don't, then don't take the course because it's awful, because it's just me on a lot of funny videos and things like that. But thank you guys so much for having me be a part of the panel. And I enjoy connecting with all of you on Twitter now, as I'm now connecting with a lot of you as we follow up. And Mealy, you and I could cause a lot of problems.
That's right. Well, I just want to mention really quickly that, that is not the right one. Next week, I'll be featuring another panel on teacher fitness. And based on our discussion today, it sounds like some of you may want to drop in or catch the replay of that conversation. I'm excited about the guests we've got there, including Mr. Teacher Fit and Mark Ryan, Mr. Run and Rant, and Che and Pav from the Staff Room podcast, and Lisa Tobin, who I believe is Teachin' Boots. So it's going to be a fun collection of people there as well. But to this panel, I want to say thank you so much. First of all, you've been very patient as we've gone a little over time, but of all the panels I've done so far, I think this has got to be the one that's been the most heartwarming, the most helpful and inspirational, and I'm going to enjoy listening to this and just going through the ideas that you shared and time-stamping the episodes so that people can get right to some of the ideas and questions you shared. Thank you again for sharing your time so generously with us today. And take care. I know we'll stay in touch and continue learning from each other. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.